Hi, welcome back to the Beginner's Guide to Hosting a Website. In this video, we're going to actually log into the dashboard and poke around, and I'm going to show you how to get your domain name connected to your hosting account so that they're associated and everything's ready to go. And then we'll get into the next videos of seeing what else we can do and getting FTP working and all that sort of fun stuff. So the first thing I want to remind you of is in the first video, we went through and purchased the domain name and then went into DNS settings, the name server settings, and we set the name servers to be the DreamHost name servers, the NS1, 2, and 3. So when we did that, it essentially says now that domain name is pointing at DreamHost and saying, hey DreamHost, you own, somebody in your system owns this domain name and has hosting with you. So it's up to you to tell us who. So in your name server, we're going to look at your name servers, those three of them, and we're going to look for which server of yours, because they have multiple servers. They might have 100 servers. Which server, which IP address that website has its files on, so we know where to pull them up and show them to people. So what we're going to do first is once you've logged in, is you need to add the domain name that you purchased in GoDaddy to your hosting account as one of your domains. Now, if you went ahead and took advantage of the free domain name within DreamHost and didn't mess with GoDaddy at all, you have nothing to worry about. You don't have to set the name servers. You don't have to do any of that because it's all built in, obviously. It's all already a part of DreamHost. So they already know and they do all the work for you. And all you have to do is upload your files to your website through FTP. So the first thing you come to when you log in is your home screen here, which is this dashboard. And you'll notice there's a lot of different options over here. It can look really confusing, but it's really pretty simple. So the first thing we're going to do is just click on domains. It gives us a new little drop down here. And the first one at the top is manage domains. So that's where we're going to go. So at the manage domains screen, obviously you can see I'm using my DreamHost account as an example. So there's a lot of domains already entered. But if you purchased a domain name at GoDaddy already and you did not set up your free domain during your DreamHost account setup, you're not going to see anything here yet, so you're just going to have the option to add a new one or register one. So let's just go ahead and choose to add hosting to a domain. So you click on that button right there, add hosting to a domain. And then you choose the type of hosting, which is going to be fully hosted. There are other options, so let me just scroll down and show you those really quick. You could do a redirect, you could have a mirrored, a parked, or a cloaked, or DNS only. So we don't really worry about any of that, and that's not for this video. This is a beginner's entry guide into setting up a hosting account. So let's not worry about all that. We're just fully hosting our domain here. So let's go ahead and put in our domain name, and we're going to say gratuitous wedding planning.com. Something like that. I didn't buy the domain name, so I don't actually know. Hopefully somebody buys that domain name and makes good use of it. So just make sure you spelled it right is the main thing. You might even copy and paste it from GoDaddy just to make sure. The only thing I don't like about doing that is GoDaddy's system puts it in all caps, and I like having it lowercase because the reason I like that is it creates a directory also, a user directory or a web directory. And it bases it off of this. So I like to have it lowercase just so it's easier to navigate later on down the road. That's just me. You can do whatever. So you put it in here, and then this little option here, do you want to add the www to your URL? If you don't know the answer to this, then leave it as is and say add. If you do know the answer, then you know what to do. There's specific reasons why you would want to remove it or leave it alone, so to where if somebody types it in this way, without it or with it, it would work either way. Personally, I always check this box to add the www. So that means if somebody typed in gratuitousweddingplanning.com only, it would redirect to www.gratuitous. And it really doesn't look like a redirect, it just, the www appears. I like doing it that way just because that's the way I do things with my websites, but everyone's different. You might have a reason why not to. So once you've got those two options selected that way, then you're going to create a new user, and you'll notice when I clicked on this, basically I clicked away from there, it populated my web directory. And that's why I like having it lowercase. I like my web directory to be lowercase. And of course I could rename that to something else, but if I'm going to have multiple domains, it helps to keep the directory name the same as the domain name, so you know exactly which domain is which when you're in your FTP server, which we'll get to later. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set up a little account here. So we're going to call this Gratuitous Weddings. That'll be my account name. And the cool thing about this is you can set up a different username for every single domain that you set up in your hosting account, so that each one is secure in its own right. You know, you can log into FTP with a different user for each domain name, or you could select the same username for each domain name, so that you can log in once and have access to all your domain names. So it's really nice for especially if you're going to have different people managing different domains for you, and you're going to hire that out. You could have a separate username created with each domain, so that you're limiting your risks when you're having people logging in through FTP and things like that. And then under web options, PHP mode, I always leave it the default. That's what they recommend. And automatically upgrade PHP, I always leave that checked so that they do security updates. I don't have to worry about that. Extra web security is checked by default. Always leave that on. And that essentially makes your web directory in the server secure. So remember we talked about how when I was going on all that technical stuff in the first video about name servers and why they're important. When you're doing shared hosting, you're on a server, a physical server. Your folders that are being hosted are in a directory amongst other directories with other people's websites. So extra security allows your directory to be totally private, to where nobody can get to it to view those files without it being explicitly accessed by you, without you giving those explicit rights. So always keep that on. This is a beta option, page speed optimization. I usually don't check that. I pretty much leave everything else off. So essentially just keep everything the default that they have. If you happen to have Google Apps or you're purchasing that to go with it, you can enable that. Otherwise, just let it be. And then they're going to just want you to type in the special code here to make sure that you're a human. So let's just do that. I don't know about you, but I always find these difficult. So once we've done that, we just click fully host this domain. And it should kick back and tell us the name servers and that we need to enter them over at there we go. Okay, so it's given us our username. It tells you your password. So you'll notice we put in that username that we wanted to have of Gratuitous Weddings. We didn't create a password, it gave one to us, and it's right here. So it's kind of a weird, complicated password. So you can change that later if you want to. And so they noticed that it was not registered yet. So they said, do you want to register it now? Which I don't. But if they had not noticed that, I would have the name servers listed right here, NS1, NS2, and NS3, and it would have instructed me to go and plug those in to my registrar. Okay, so that's it. Once we've got all that information plugged in, it's going to take probably an hour, maybe a few minutes, but maybe even up to 2 hours for it to populate across the web, for it to know that those name servers should be assigned to that domain name, for the domain name on DreamHost's system to know to look at that registrar, for everybody to be seeing each other and talking. Does take a little bit of time to populate, so it may not happen instantly. So once you've plugged all that information in, maybe you go grab a coffee or drink a glass of wine, take a break, and then come back to it, type your domain name into a new browser or a new tab, and you should see it come up, and it should say have a default GoDaddy screen once it comes up this time and says this site is not here yet, or it's coming soon, is usually the one that they put up there for you. So once you see that little DreamHost coming soon page, then you know, okay, I'm ready to go to the next step. I'm ready to get my files uploaded. So before we get to that phase of the training, in the next video, I'm going to walk you through all the different settings within your hosting account and explain just briefly what they're for and how to access them and use them and use them to your advantage. So that's it for this video, and I'll see you over in the next one.